Okay, let's get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Ross. Here at Church Windows. Today we're going to be working on, or we're going to be showing you the visits module within membership. I have um, Kellyanne with me today to help answer questions during and after the webinar. I ask you keep them on topic. Just since there's quite a few more of you than there are of us. Um, so with that, let's get started. So the visits module within Church Windows got rewritten in version 18 to include more options, more security settings, and just to make it easier to use in general. So let's get into it. Let me open up membership. And then down here in the bottom right is the visits um, button to open up the visits module. So we click on that. And then this is essentially the main screen for visits. Um, the default layout, or when you open it up, it shows you in the grid down below all the people that you've recorded visits to the last few years, normally sorting by the person who was visited. Um, Up here at the top is where you can type to search for a particular person, or you can tab through over here. So if you come across somebody who doesn't have any visits, none show up at the bottom. If you click the arrow again, for example, Bill Albrecht has a couple of visits within the past couple years, and they're showing up here. If you want to include, by default, it does not include people who have been made inactive or terminated. If you want to include them, you can click this checkbox. All right. And then over here on the right, there's the include members, include visitors. If you only want to look at visits of members or of visitors, you can uncheck one or the other. So in this case, Bill and Susan are both members. So if we unclick include members, they disappear. Let's see. Just so I can get a little bit more data on this screen, what I'm going to do is go first in this change dates filter and sort screen. And this is where you can get more specific about what criteria or what types of visits you want to see. Um, Whether it be you want to see the follow-up date, all visits with a follow-up date between today and say the end of the year, or something like that. I'm just going to include the last several years just by clicking on the little drop-down arrow and going back to 2010, so we have a little bit more visits data in the grid. So let me just click OK and show you what that looks like. As you can see, now we have more people showing up because it's including visits going all the way back to 2010. If I click inactive and terminated, we have another visit show up. This Donald Allen has been terminated since his visit. So if we uncheck it or check it, he shows up or it disappears. Let's go back to that change dates filter and sort page real quick. As I said, we can filter things by with different criteria. Um, Visited by. We can, for example, only look at visits that were made by the senior pastor. That way, or the reason, same thing. Look at a particular reason. So if we just do, senior pastor and click OK, it has filtered and it's only showing people who have a visited by the senior pastor. And if you expand out the this little plus sign here, it shows you the date, the visit by, the reason, location, duration, follow-up date, whether or not it's a event that's been put in a scheduler, and then this button over here on the right allows you to delete it. You can change what columns show up on this screen, and the order of them, just by kind of say you want the reason to be the first thing after the visit date. You can just click on reason here and go over to the left, and then when you get that little white arrow there on the between visit date and reason, you let it go and it moves those columns around. You can also change what columns show up and how it's sorted by going to this change dates filter and sort. So let's click on that again. If you go to the columns tab, see at the moment you can see it has all the different anything on the right is what will show up on the grid. The top two will be on the report. I'll show you that here in a few minutes. So say we don't really care about the follow-up date or whether or not it's a scheduler event. We can take those out and click OK. And then now when we look at our grid, it no longer has that. So you can adjust that to be, with the exact, fields you want. So say you don't care about comments either, you can remove that as well. At the top of the screen, if you're wanting to, say you're going into visits and it's a visit for somebody, say they're new to the church and your welcoming committee went and visited them, but they haven't been actually entered into the database yet, you can click on this little plus sign here, and this is how you can add a person to the database itself before you add a visit to them, because in order to add a visit to them, they need to actually be in the database first. So, let's just, click that, add visitor, and the little add to visitor file will show up. It looks the same when you click add member, it's just we'll add it to the member file instead. So let's just do a quick new family, last name, new guy. So I click OK here, and generally we recommend entering a direct report order, but since we don't really need it in this case, I'll just say no. And then now you can see they've been added as a visitor. That's what that little V means right here. Then if we want to add a visit to them, we click this plus sign to bring up the and this is how you add visits for people in the database. So we click the little add visit. You can either the person that was selected up here, when you click add visit, they'll be selected here, or you can go through the drop down or type in their name, or go through the little arrows to go through each individual person. But in this case, since we want to do new guy family, and let's just say, let's put in the date of visit. Let's put it, say it was yesterday. And then the reason, say, you have all these different reasons, and say you want to add a new one that doesn't quite fit with what any of the reasons you have, you can click this little pencil with a plus minus on it, and this is how you add, edit, or delete different reasons. So we can just make up a code. let's make it welcome to the church. And then we click add. But say, so we click add, and then that adds it to the code, or adds it to the list, and now you can select it in the drop down. So you also have one that you don't need anymore. You can click the minus sign and delete that particular code, and that will remove it from any person that has had that code used on it when their visit was created. Their visit will still be there. It will just not have that particular reason in it anymore. So we can click OK. Let's see, welcome to the church, and then the same thing for the visited by and the location. You can add or delete the visited bys and the locations using that pencil. So let's just say senior pastor, and the location was home. And in the comments, you can, obviously put in what happened in that particular visit. It's totally optional. You don't need to put anything in there if you don't want to. And then there's this follow-up date here. So say whether you have to meet with them again in a couple weeks or something like that, you can schedule that by clicking on that particular date. And then if you guys use a scheduler module, this integrates with that. So when you click the OK button down here, it'll open up the new event feature in scheduler. So where it says description, follow-up visit to new guy family, and then if you click save, it'll add that particular event in your scheduler database. And if you have there's another feature on that add visit screen I want to show you. Let me pull up somebody who has a big family. So Bob Allen Jones the third. So if you click add visit, you have the option to copy the visit. Say you visited the whole family. If you click this copy visit to all family members, the the reason each individual person will now have a visit on their record. So let me just say, regular visit, secretary. And then you also have the option to include, if you have a follow-up date or comments, you have the option to include those when you copy it to the other family members. In this case, I am going to copy those comments down to the other family members, and we're not filling out a follow-up date, so we don't have to worry about that. Just want to show you what that looks like. So I clicked add visit. And then it didn't seem to add it. That's odd. Let me try that again, since that didn't seem to work. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. Well, something seems to be going weird with that. I'll have to check with the developer to see if there's something going on with that. So sorry about that. Skipping on from that, if you want to, say, print out a list or a report of all your visits in a particular range, and you have it set up how you want. If you click over here and click this print visits report. And what it's going to do is essentially the sort and the columns that you have on that grid will show up here um, on the report. So we're sorting by person visited. So that's why it's bolded, and then it has each individual visit listed below, including comments and things of that nature. So if you want to say you don't care about the duration on this, we can close that, go up to the change dates filter and sort, go to the columns tab, get rid of duration, and say you don't want it, you'd rather see who you don't want to see it by person visited, you want to see it by who did the visiting. So you would go to this group and sort tab, go to sort field 1, and instead of person visited, you do visited by. So if you click OK there, and then click print visits, you can see, oh, printed visited by senior pastor. Then you can see each individual visit date, person visited, etc., etc. One cool thing about the new visits is the enhanced security that exists for the enhanced security that exists. So say you have this, if somebody engages in pretty confidential information, and you don't want people seeing the comments made by, say, the senior pastor. So you don't want the if he in counseling sessions and things like that, you don't want other people to see what he wrote about what happened in that visit. We can make it so this, say for example, the senior pastor or what have you has the security settings set up so he can enter in the comments, but only he can see them. So to edit security within church windows and for visits, you close out of membership, you click on admin, and then security. And then I've already set up a couple different users in here with different levels of access. So if you go to the visits tab over here on the right, this is where you can edit the security settings. So this one currently has full access. It can view visits, it can create them, it can edit existing ones or delete existing ones. It can also, this little checkbox down here at the bottom left allows you to add members or visitors on that screen. So if the person who does the visiting, if you don't want them to be able to add people to the database, if that's handled by somebody else, you can just uncheck this add members and visitors screen or checkbox here. There's also this additional view security. What you can do on this is you can set it up so particular users cannot see visits with certain visited by codes. So say you want somebody who can see everybody's visits except, say, the senior pastors because he has special or confidential visits with people. You would just check everybody else except him, and then click OK. And the same thing with additional comments. You can make it so a user can't view any comments at all, or you can make it so they can only view particular people's comments. And after you have it set up how you want, you just click OK, and then save and close, or you can go on to the next user by clicking on their name over here on the left and editing them how you want. Just to kind of show you how that works, let me close out of Church Windows and then open it back up with a user who doesn't have access to view the senior pastor's visits. Let me log in here real quick. Alright, so I logged in with no view. Went into membership. And then visits. So, for example, if I go to that change dates, filter, and sort, let me go back to the last few years again just to get more people in here. If I click on this visited by, you now notice the senior pastor is not visible. That's because this particular login does not have the view, is not allowed to view any visits created by the senior pastor. So there's no way for them to see that. So all the visits that were in here before cannot be seen. And then and if someone's trying to get a little tricksy, you can the view comments, if you want them to be able to see kind of like the general information about when people were visited and things like that, but you don't want to see the comments that somebody created, you can make it like I showed you oops. We can set up security so that people can see the basic information, but they can't see the comments that were made by the senior pastor. So let's go back into membership. And then visits. So, for example, the new guy family was visited by the senior pastor, but you notice down here, you get the little lock symbol next to the comments. You don't have permission to view his comments. And now, if someone was trying to be really sneaky and really wanted to see the comments made by the senior pastor, if you tried to change it to a different visited by, that will then unlock the comments. The system's smart enough to know that it won't allow you to change it from senior pastor, so it changes it back to senior pastor, so you can't see the comments made by the senior pastor. That really is all I have today about visits. This video will be put online by the end of business hours tomorrow. So, if you guys came in late, you'll be able to watch this by the beginning of the weekend. Let me see if there's any. If you guys have any questions or anything, now's the time to ask. Let me see if we have any coming in. And yeah, it did look like those couple of visits I created, once I closed and it came back in, they showed up, so I'm not sure what was going with that. Beverly asked if we have the ability to have only one person, the pastor, to access the visits module. Absolutely. What you can do if you want nobody else to have access to visits except for one person on this screen. For everybody else, you would just have all these fields unchecked. Once you uncheck those, um, they won't be able to they won't be able to view anything or enter visits. So just everybody except the pastor, um, his login could have all these entered, but everybody else would be unchecked. And actually, I have and Tammy missed um, how to remove fields. Yeah, Tammy, I can show you how to do that. So if you click on, if we go back into visits, if you go to change dates, filter, and sort here in the top left, and then click on the columns tab, the visible columns is everything that will appear. So you can, if you want to remove something, you can double click on it, or you can click on it once and click on the little arrow pointing to the left, and then click OK, and then they no longer show up in the grid. Heidi, nice to be able to rearrange them as you would like. Yeah, Heidi, I can add that to suggestions for you for sure. It's not something I think will be in the next update, but I've had another person ask about different ways to rearrange the this visit screen and the members list. So yeah, I can absolutely have one of them have them look at that for you. Let's see. Any other questions? All right, I'm not really seeing any more coming in. Yeah, as I said, if you guys came in a little late, the video will be up by tomorrow evening on our YouTube page. So you can just go to churchwindow or youtube.com/churchwindows, and that should take you right to our user page, and you can watch all our videos there. Um, Other than that, yeah, if you guys have any other questions or issues, you can always just give us a call at 1-800-533-5227 or email us at support@churchwindows.com. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.